All right, hello and welcome. If you were unable to attend Zoom class today, Wednesday, January 27th, this is what we did in class. So we're talking about claim, evidence, and reasoning in informational writing. So first is our claim. It's the answer to the question in one complete sentence. So if the question was, which animal on this food web is an omnivore? My answer in one sentence would be, the young salmon is an omnivore. Very straightforward, very simple. You don't have to say any more than that. The question is, which one is an omnivore? You say, the young salmon is an omnivore. Next, evidence. Two pieces of evidence from the text or image that you used to make your claim. So, in the image, it might show that young salmon eats algae. So that's one piece of evidence. Evidence part two, or the second piece of evidence, would be young salmon eats sculpin, which is a type of fish. So, two pieces of evidence. Finally, we have reasoning. So, explain how the evidence you listed supports your claim. So that is literally creating a bridge between your claim, young salmon is an omnivore, and to bridge it with your pieces of evidence. So young salmon is a omnivore because it eats both algae and sculpin. And that is the claim, evidence, reasoning. So we're going to try a couple. We're going to do one together, or I'm going to do one as an example that you should also do on your own Google Slides. And then you'll have one to do on your own. So here in the English Google Classroom, we'll go to Classwork tab, Wednesday, claim, evidence, reasoning. This handout is just to remind you what each step is. So the claim, the evidence, and the reasoning. Next, there is CER practice 3. There is no 2, just 1 and 3. 2 is confusing, so I'm using this one. So so you'll click on that, and when you do, it will look much like this. So claim, evidence, and reasoning. Jamal and Carrie would like to go on a picnic in a few hours. They look out their window and see that even though it is partly sunny right now, there are some cumulonimbus clouds in the distance. Well, if you're watching this on Wednesday the 27th, and you look outside your window at 10:45 in the morning or so, the clouds that you see overhead, those are cumulonimbus clouds. Those are the type that brings us storms and rain and things like that. So, cumulonimbus clouds are like storm clouds. They check their barometer, which measures air pressure, and notice that the pressure seems to be dropping by the hour. So if you remember from 4th or 5th grade science, when the air pressure gets lower, the weather gets worse. So it can rain or storm, kind of like it has been this week. Then the forecast for the day also shows the temperature dropping by 15 degrees within the next couple of hours. So that's going from like 60, which is pretty decent temperature, down to 45, which is pretty darn cold. Not cold enough to snow, but still definitely cold. And we are now left with the question. Should Jamal and Carrie go on a picnic tonight? So when I get to my claim, we have a bunch of information up here, and I can go to my claim. I don't know about you, but most of us in Zoom agreed that they should not go on a picnic. And because it is answering the question in one complete sentence, I don't want to just say no. So one word, not good enough. So we need to expand on that a little bit. The best way of doing that is restating the question in my answer. So I can say Jamal and Carrie should not go on a picnic tonight. Period. So that is my claim, that they should not go on a picnic. Evidence. Evidence 1. Evidence 1. The clouds, those cumulonimbus clouds, show that it might have rain. So you could say these types of clouds might make it rain. So that's one piece of evidence. Type 2. It will be cold. That's a good enough reason for me not to want to go on a picnic at nighttime, because I would be wet and cold and miserable. Then I have my reasoning. So I explain how the evidence I listed, evidence 1 and evidence 2, to bridge that to support my claim. So I might say, Jamal and Carrie should not go on a picnic tonight because it will be cold and might rain. So I am creating that bridge between my claim that they should not go on a picnic and the evidence. So Jamal and Carrie should not go on a picnic tonight because it will be cold there and it might rain. And that is claim, evidence, reasoning. The last part on slide 3 is now putting that all in a well-organized paragraph. A paragraph like this one should have 4 sentences. And those 4 sentences, I've pretty much done the work. So I can go back to my claim and copy that and use that as my topic sentence. Oh, and Carrie should not go on a picnic tonight. Then I get to use my evidence. First, the clouds, or the cloud type, might make it rain. I'm going to double space this so it's a little bit easier to read. So first, evidence 1. I'm literally taking these types of clouds might make it rain, and I'm putting that as my first piece of evidence. Then I can say, second, I use my second piece of evidence. Second, it will be cold. Second, it will be cold. Now I have my reasoning, and this will be my concluding sentence. And my concluding sentence should restate my topic sentence and kind of incorporate my details. And I will say, in conclusion, Jamal and Carrie should not go on a picnic tonight because it will be cold and might rain. There. I have my claim sentence, claim sentence, evidence 1, first, evidence 2, second, in conclusion, my reasoning, which includes my topic sentence and my 2 pieces of evidence. And that is how that is done. So that is my example portion. Coming back to the classwork tab, your assignment is to complete CER Practice 1. So Practice 1 has a food web. Oh, that's interesting. Seems like I talked about this earlier. So river food web. I'm going to start at the bottom. So algae is eaten by trout and young salmon. So the arrows go like points to who eats that thing. Or if you want to say young salmon eats algae, the arrow might go the other way. Either way, there is a connection between algae and young salmon and algae and trout. Next, sculpin is eaten by young salmon and sculpin is eaten by otter. And you ought to believe me. Next, otter eats not only sculpin, but otter also eats trout. So this crisscross, this doesn't mean both, it's crossing over. And then finally, bald eagle eats both trout and young salmon. So bald eagle eats trout, bald eagle eats young salmon. So here's my question. Which organism can be classified as an omnivore? And we decided earlier that an omnivore eats both plants and animals. So there's only one animal in this food web that eats both. And that is young salmon. So young salmon eats algae. Young salmon eats sculpin. So in my claim, I would probably write, young salmon is an omnivore. My pieces of evidence. Evidence 1, young salmon eats algae. Evidence 2, young salmon eats sculpin. Reasoning. Young salmon is an omnivore because it eats both algae and sculpin, or other small fish. Then I'll wrap it up nicely in a paragraph. So I'll have my topic sentence, which is my claim. Young salmon is an omnivore. First, young salmon eats algae. Second, young salmon eats sculpin. Final sentence. In conclusion, young salmon is an omnivore because it eats both algae and sculpin. And that's all you have to do. And that will be due, I said Friday, but because of the snow and power outages, I'm going to change the due date. So you'll have extra time. And if you have questions, please let me know on a private comment on Google Classroom or by email. Thanks.